Hey there, anime-ish web series fan. Today I'm reviewing the first season of RWBY. RWBY. Hang on, I got this.
Private, just say RWBY.
It can also be said RWBY, to be fair.
Yeah, that thing. The story follows 4 monster-slaying huntresses. Ruby Rose, Weiss Schnee,
Bless you.
Blake Belladonna, and Yang Zhilong. The 4 attend Beacon Academy, where they train to fight the creatures of G.A.M.E., soulless giant monstrosities hell-bent on wiping the kingdoms of man off the map. But that's not all. Team RWBY will also be drawn into a sinister conspiracy involving a cabal of animal people called Faunus and Alex from A Clockwork Orange. Now that's a lot to handle, but it's a good thing the girls have spice. I mean atom. I mean vigors. I mean dust. A magical compound that fuels their elaborate weapons and magical superpowers. Monster Hunter Hogwarts is overseen by a smooth operator named Professor Ozpin and his gal Friday Glenda Goodwitch.
Well, with names like that, we're certainly not in Kansas anymore. Wouldn't you agree, Tin Man?
Yeah, whatever.
But Team RWBY isn't alone. They're joined in their studies by Team Juniper, made up of supporting cast members Jean Arc, Nora Valkyrie, Pura Nikos, and Lai Ren, and finally Team Slytherin, Team Cobra Kai, Team Cardinal, made up of a bunch of holes. Okay, RWBY is an interesting specimen, I'll give it that. And for what it is, a series of short webisodes produced by Rooster Teeth, the guys who made a name for themselves putting funny dialogue over Halo matches, it's very impressive. I've seen movies that don't look this good. Okay, let's start by looking at our main cast. Ruby Rose is an adorable, hyper-emotive anime girl, immediately endearing and likable. During the show's frequent action sequences, Little Red Riding Hood rocks a robo-scythe that transforms into a sniper rifle. Weiss she's Mew Minty, okay? A spoiled rich girl who's just brave, smart, and resourceful enough to justify her bad attitude. If you don't like her, I completely understand, but her rough edges are never a deal breaker for me. I also really like her design and fighting style. The rapier is a very graceful and elegant weapon, and she complements it with elemental attacks and intricate magic sigils.
Okay, so she sets stuff on fire, then hits it with a sword.
Yeah, but in a very pretty way. Blake is more of an enigma. She's quiet and bookish, but also a supportive team player. She's also kind of hard to get a read on in combat. She's armed with hook guns on ropes, but she only really uses them in one fight against a giant bird. Caw, mother. You'd think that would make her more mobile, but no, she just kind of runs and jumps around like everyone else. There's a pretty big revelation about her near the end, and it explains a lot about her, but she still sort of fades into the background. Oh, and her costume is kind of an over-designed mess. Then there's Yang, who's what you would get if you crossed Black Widow with Applejack. She fights with gun gauntlets and things explode when she punches them.
I like her already.
She's also the least developed in terms of personality. She's RWBY's half-sister, and she clearly has a lot of affection for her little sis. She's also prone to explosive outbursts when enemies mess up that blonde mane of hers. And her costume really sells the whole cowgirl thing, even if it lacks the elegant simplicity of RWBY or Weiss's. All 4 are likable and endearing, and even though Snow White and Little Red Riding Hood here receive most of the development, all 4 are still distinctive and I could tell you at least something about them. The supporting cast are fair to medium in terms of their development. Jean Arc receives the most. He's more or less a normal guy. Too bad he's at a school where everyone's armed and trained to down monsters the size of station wagons.
Dead man walking.
But Joan of Dork here pulls a Sir Galahad by being pure of heart. That means he gets a nifty magical force field. They don't really pull the trigger on Jean and RWBY being an item, but there's a possible love triangle forming with Pura, who's an Amazon warrior with a heart of gold. The last 2 members of Team Juniper are Nora Valkyrie, a kooky girl with a grenade launcher and a big hammer, and Lai Ren, a poor put-upon guy with a calm demeanor and twin SMGs to go along with his mad kung fu skills. Now let's talk villains. Team Cardinal are your typical jock bully holes, without any redeeming qualities, not even entertainment value, sadly. They're basically just testosterone-fueled roadblocks for the good guys to overcome. Now let's look at Alex. Okay, his real name is Roman Torchwick, but he's Alex, plain and simple. He's an interesting antagonist, but he's not exactly on the show a whole bunch. And he's got a boss in the form of a mysterious lady firebender, who has the amazing superpower to stand on the deck of a bucking Enclave vertibird in 4-inch heels. But the best bad guys by far are the White Fang.
Great, where's Hero Yui when you need him?
Not that White Fang. This White Fang is a group of terrorists fighting for the faunus animal people. But it's clear that their methods go too far in achieving their vision of justice. Finally, Oz the Great and Powerful and Glenda the Good Witch of the North both have strong screen presence, and do the job of story setup fairly well. Now let's look at the plot. RWBY is a mashup of high-octane action, school slice of life, and high-concept fantasy. The best analog I can give you is Harry Potter. The main characters live, learn, and do their schooling, while larger events happen around them. It's a good way to get the girls in on the world-shaping stuff and give them plenty of opportunity to kick monster. I also really dig the techno fairy tale aesthetics and themes in RWBY, although some are a little more obvious than others. Ruby and Weiss are clearly cut from the same cloth as Little Red Riding Hood and Snow White respectively, and Blake was inspired by Belle from Beauty and the Beast. I guess I see it. And Yang by Goldilocks. Well, you got the one part that mattered.
This reference is too obscure. This reference is too obvious.
The underpinnings and structure of the fantasy world also need some explaining. It's clear that whoever controls the dust controls the universe, but I don't know what dust is or how it works. The weapons and powers seem to be fueled by the stuff, and it's mined like a mineral, but the only one who actually seems to use it and its different colors is Weiss. Also, there's a point where Blake flat states that pure evil doesn't exist, but by the workings of the world she's in, she's just wrong. This isn't what she was referring to, but the creatures of G.A.M.E. are literally soulless beings of darkness that want only to kill every human, faunus, and animal in the world. That's like the definition of evil.
Well, not quite, but close enough.
The art of RWBY is very nice. Its anime look is great, and the super elaborate weapons and vehicles are awesome. The character designs are beautiful, but sometimes they tend to be a bit overdone. Now I need to go on about the action sequences for a bit. They are way more awesome than I thought they'd be going in. There's a lot of variety in the weapons and magical super moves getting thrown around. And to go with the pretty pictures, the show has a great soundtrack. The music has kind of a dancey techno-pop vibe, which fits the show well. RWBY also has a great sense of humor. A lot of it's drawn from your typical anime visual sight gags. Think that wacky big-headed anime thing. There's also plenty of slapstick, fun taken from high school scenarios, and even a couple of goofy cops. But the best humor comes from the interactions between the various personalities. Ruby and Weiss have some of the best, but Nora and Ren are also great. Okay, now it's time to break down the good and the bad in RWBY. On the good side, the fantasy world is interesting, the action is cool, the comedy is fun, the music is the icing on the cake, and it's all built around a likable main cast. On the other hand, the mechanics of the fantasy world physics at play don't get the Harry Dresden seal of quality. And some characters are underdeveloped and over-designed compared to others. But if you like anime, action, fantasy, or fun, I think you'll like RWBY. So I give it a 4 out of 5. If you're interested in more reviews of anime, movies, TV shows, comic books, or video games, check out my channel on YouTube at StupidPrivate913, or find me on Facebook for video updates and more. Thanks for watching.
Hey kids, today's show is brought to you by the letter 4 and the number potato! I'm a stupid private.